welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell. Today we're going to be talking about simple interest. Let's get started. All right, let's start with a vocab review. So we've talked about interest, and we know that interest is the extra money you get or that you have to pay back. That's interest. Principal is the original amount of money you invest or borrow. The rate is the percent that's earned or charged on your money. And time is the number of years or part of a year that you invest or borrow money. Let's take a minute and talk about the importance of using years when we're talking about simple interest. And I'm just going to read this, and you might want to take a minute, pause your video, and maybe write this little graph down. It could be helpful for you. Simple interest is calculated using time in years. If you're given a problem to find simple interest and the time is in months, you will need to change the months into years. So to do this, you simply need to divide the number of months by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. Now there is a little chart here that might help you. It's a grid telling you that 3 months is actually a quarter of a year, or 0.25. 6 months is 0.5. 9 months is 0.75, and so on and so forth. That might be helpful. Also important is knowing how to show percentages as unit rates. A percentage rate is really a unit rate. It's the amount charged for each dollar you invest or borrow. So a rate of 3% is really 3 cents for every dollar. And if we wanted to write that as a unit rate, it would be 0.03 over 1,000. Excuse me, over 100. Added an extra zero. Here's an example. Let's say you borrowed $500 from the bank. The bank charges 5% interest annually. Now annually means for 1 year. If you pay back all the money at the end of 2 years, how much interest will you pay? Well, to start, we want to use the interest rate and make an equation using equivalent proportions. So we've got 0.05 over 1, that's the unit rate of our percent, equals I over 500. We cross multiply and we get 25 equals I, and I is the interest. So $25 is the amount of interest you will pay, but for 1 year. Remember in the problem it said that you wanted to pay back the loan in 2 years. So you would have to multiply that 25 by 2. 25 times 2 is 50. So you would pay 50. Let's try one more example. If you borrow $3,600 from USA Savings Bank for 18 months, you will repay $4,059 to the bank. What's the interest rate for this loan? Now, the amount to be repaid includes the principal plus the interest. Use the same equation as the model and solve for the interest. Now, remember, the interest is the money, not the interest rate. So we're going to let the interest equal I. All right, so we have the principal plus the interest equals the amount to pay back. And when we subtract 3,600 from both sides of the equation, we find out that the amount of interest is $459. So I equals $459. That's not the rate, that's the actual amount of interest, dollars. Now, we find the interest for 1 year. Since there's 12 months in a year, 18 months is 18 over 12, or 1.5 years. We make a proportion and solve for the interest for 1 year, or the unit rate for interest. We always want to define our variable, so we'll let the interest for 1 year equal X. All right. So we have the interest amount for $159 over 1.5 years equals X, which is the interest, over 1 year. Cross multiply, we get 459 equals 1.5X. Divide both sides by 1.5, and we get 306 equals X. Now, this is the interest for 1 year, but we're still not done. We have one more proportion to go. Okay, now that we know the interest for 1 year, we can find the interest rate for 1 year. Do you notice the difference? We were looking at the interest for 1 year. Now we're looking at the interest rate for that year. So all we have to do is set up another proportion. We always want to define our variable, and we will let the interest rate equal R. So we have the interest 306 over $3,600 equals R, the interest over $1. Cross multiply and you get 306 equals 3,600 R. Divide both sides and you get 0.085 equals R. So now we make now we make 0.085 into a percent. 0.085 times 100 is 8.5%. So the interest rate will be 8.5%. All right, everyone, that just about does it for this lesson. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.